What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back with a brand new top 10 for you all today. And today, guys, we are taking a look at the top 10 ARC creatures you need to tame in 2023. Now, guys, this should be hopefully ARC's final year, and we should be getting ARC 2 as well this year. So I thought I'd make a list of the top 10 dinos for any new players that are coming in, as well as for the general players that still play around on the top 10 creatures that you should have before ARC ends. So guys, without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Now, coming in at number 10, we have the ANDREWSARCHUS. Now, the ANDREWSARCHUS is found exclusively on the Fjorda map as of the moment, aside from using mods, and this guy is a great beginner tame to get, and if you are playing on Fjorda, which you most likely will be, these guys are the perfect mount to get started on this map. In terms of taming, they are super easy to get. All you need to do is find these beehives, harvest up the honey found within, which is located on the map at this location. It's a very easy location to get to over here. And all you need to do is simply approach the ANDREWSARCHUS, throw the honey on the floor for the ANDREWSARCHUS, wait for it to approach and eat the honey, and then you can go ahead and ride it. And in terms of taming it, all you need to do is hit the same directional key that it needs, and you will be able to tame this guy up very easily and very simply. These guys are great. They are really fast to get around the map. They have a speed boost which you can use to plow through terrain such as rocks, trees, not dead corpses. However, if you do get dead corpses in your way, you can simply harvest them out of the way as well. And these guys are great. They also have the capacity to turn very quickly if you face the direction to do a skid/drag, and that will enable you to turn quickly as well with these guys. Now, as well as that, they are also capable of going under the water. You will need to however, make sure that you have quite enough oxygen to survive the trip underwater, and you can also run along the ocean floor with the ANDREWSARCHUS. Once you get access to their saddle will protect you from a lot of external dangers, such as drowning. You are oxygen proof. It'll also protect you from lava, wyvern spit, any sort of environmental danger you can think of. The ANDREWSARCHUS' saddle will protect you from that danger. Now, coming in at number 9, we have the YUTYRANNUS. The YUTYRANNUS is a great addition to any tribe's dinos as long as they're doing some sort of fighting. The YUTYRANNUS is able to provide a buff to your dinos, causing them to deal increased damage as well as reduce the amount of damage that they take. In terms of taming the YUTYRANNUS, it's a simple knockout tame. You can see here there's a very basic trap that you can just build for it. It's a 2x3, and all you need to do is build 3 high door frames and a ramp, and you are good to go. Now, once your Yuty is tamed up, you have the saddle for it, you can ride it, and it can do 2 different roars. It has a fear roar and a courage roar. The courage roar buffs your dinos by 15%, causing them to deal extra damage and take reduced damage. And the fear roar also causes nearby wild dinos and tamed dinos of enemy tribes to do less damage to you, making these guys great for doing boss runs as well as PvPing with other players. Now, coming in at number 8, we have the SINOMACROPS. Now, this guy is exclusively found on Lost Island, unless you are on PC, in which case there is a mod that you can use to bring the SINOMACROPS, as well as all Lost Island dinos, to the other maps. These guys are great. They act as a portable backpack for you, and they are able to glide and fly as well while being on your back. You can see here we are able to gain altitude using the SINOMACROPS and holding down the jump key, and you can also move slightly while flying with these guys in the air. When you're ready to go gliding, you can activate C, and these guys will act very similarly, if not exactly the same as the glider found on Aberration. This enables you to have these guys as a portable backpack, giving you an extra means of transportation as well as movement and escape if you so need to. As well as that, these guys are capable of scaring away smaller victims and prey, such as Meganeuras and Pygomastixes, Microraptors, all that sort of stuff. Now, as well as that, these guys also have inventory that you can use on them, as well as reducing the weight of the items that you put in their inventory. You can see that it reduces it by half, causing these 40 weight foundations to cost 20 weight. Now, in order to tame one of these guys up, what you need to do is wait for them to approach you. They'll generally do so if you're just hanging around the area. Make sure that you aren't wearing chitin armor, as they will attack you if you are wearing chitin armor. And all you need to do is have chitin in the last slot of your inventory, and they will approach you and get fed off of your chitin just like that. Now, you can see here this guy is starting to fly back towards us, and he should land and get the hearts. You want to wait for the heart to come up, or for it to stop moving. Once it stops moving, you can then approach it to feed the chitin, just like that. Repeat this process until it's tamed. And just like that, it's a pretty simple tame. They were super buggy when they first released, but they have been worked on quite a lot now, and they are much better to tame. Now, coming in at number 7, we have the ARGENTAVIS. Now, in order to tame up an Argy, all you simply need is an Argy trap. Now, this enables you to get in there with the Argy and then to simply get out through the sides. You can do this with a Pteranodon as well, and the Argy should be well and truly stuck once inside of the trap. Now, the only thing is this might be slightly too large for the Argy. Nope, it appears to be a-okay. So simply cut the Argy inside of the trap once it's done harvesting the various bodies located around it. Bro, come on inside of the trap for me, please. You're making me look like a fool. Inside the trap. There we go. You can see that once it's inside the trap, simply close the gate and you'll have yourself a trapped Argy. From here on out, it's a simple knockout tame, and then you need to feed it mutton and prime meat or any sort of kibble that you have. Now, once you've tamed yourself up an Argy, it's got a couple of unique abilities. It has the ability to grab smaller prey, like I mentioned. We've got an Anky over here that you can grab. Pretty much anything the size of a Parasaur and smaller, the Argy is capable of grabbing. You can see here, we've got the Anky. You can carry this guy away to a trap to get tranked and tamed up, or you can simply go out and harvest a bunch of metal with your own tamed Anky. As well as that, their saddle acts as a smithy, and they have an absurd amount of weight for a flyer. And they're also relatively fast. Now, you do have Quetzals as an option, however, they are super slow and more of a pain in the bum to tame than an Argy. But you can simply use this guy to cruise around the map, grab whatever tames you want, take them back to your base, tame them up. Hence why the Argy is one of the best flies in the game, in my opinion. Now, coming in at number 6, we have the DEINONYCHUS. Now, the DEINONYCHUS is found on Valguero and Fjorda. These guys are super easy tame to get, in my opinion, and they have one of the best attacks that is just so good. The fact that they can take down the dragon boss is pretty much the #1 reason why they are at number 6 on this list. At first, they don't look all that menacing compared to some of the other dinos found on this list, but their bleed attack that they inflict deals massive amounts of damage to high health targets. Now, in order to obtain a DEINONYCHUS, you will need to find their nests, which are generally guarded by more DEINONYCHUS. However, the nests on Fjorda are super easy to find and get access to, and they generally are quite a lot of them. If you have a flyer or a decent amount of movement speed, you can outrun the DEINONYCHUSes and get away from them in time with your claimed bounty of their egg. Once you've received the egg, all you need to do is hatch it, raise it like you would any other sort of tame, and then you'll have your very own DEINONYCHUS. Now, like I mentioned, the DEINONYCHUS has a bleed attack. It also has a semi-glide ability, which prevents it from taking fall damage regardless of the height. No matter how high you jump off a DEINONYCHUS, it will not take fall damage due to its semi-feathered wings, I should say, I would guess. Now, as well as that, it also has a bleed attack, like I mentioned, which does deal a percentage of the target's health. I believe it is 5% of the target's health. However, this effect can stack, and you will see that the bleed effect will continue while we don't even fight it. Now, as well as that, they are able to latch onto their victims as well and deal that same bleed damage. They also receive a pack bonus and an alpha buff as well to the highest leveled DEINONYCHUS that you have in your pack. So these guys are great. Now, their destructive power is not limited to just the dinos on the Ark. The bosses of Ark are also susceptible to the DEINONYCHUS's attack. And as you can see here, the Alpha Dragon gets taken out with one single DEINONYCHUS. That's how powerful these guys and their bleed attacks are. They are one of the only dinos you can take into the boss arena that will deal this sort of damage. And the ability to deal with the Alpha Dragon by itself with some wyvern milk just makes these guys inclusive on any of the top 10 creatures of Ark. So let's move on to number 5. Now, coming in at number 5, we have the Rock Drake. Now, this spot was originally reserved for the Reaper. However, Rock Drakes are breedable, which means you can stack mutations on them, which in my opinion does outvalue the Reaper's versatility and usefulness. Now, these guys only spawn on Fjorda and Aberration, and in order to tame one up, you have to get their eggs. Very similarly to the DEINONYCHUS. Now, my favorite way of doing so is on Fjorda with an ANDREWSARCHUS. This nest right here is super easy to grab. I'm not sure where all the Rock Drakes are, but you can get up here very easily with your ANDREWSARCHUS and simply jump off, grab the egg, get back on your ANDREWSARCHUS and leg it the hell out of there. And you should be a-okay to break out of this place relatively easy with your own Rock Drake egg. Now, once you've tamed up your Rock Drake, these guys have an abundance of abilities. They have the ability to glide very similarly to snow owls and griffins. They can also do a glide dash, which will propel them forward and deal damage to targets in the area. As well as that, they can also climb pretty much any surface in the game. They have sticky feet, which enables them to climb upside down, vertically, whatever direction you could possibly think of. They also have the ability to cloak as well, preventing you from being seen by wild dinos, as well as being useful for scouting during PvP. They also have their standard bite attack. They deal decent amounts of damage. Once you get it imprinted and mutated, they can be absolute beasts. They're beasts before, but you can make them even stronger. They also have access to a tech saddle, which can fire plasma blasts at a range as well. So the Rock Drake's definitely one of those tames worth investing in, and they're also very good swimmers in my opinion as well for a land-based air gliding sort of machination of all three. So I'd heavily recommend getting your hands on a Rock Drake as soon as you can. Now coming in at number 4, we have the Mighty T-Rex. These guys are going to be your bread and butter for dealing with bosses, world bosses, just anything. These guys are super strong, and they can get even stronger through mutations and imprinting. Even with just imprinting itself and no mutation, you can easily get these guys to 30k health and 500-600 melee damage, which is more than capable of dealing with majority of the bosses on Arc, as long as you've got about 18 of them and a YUTYRANNUS. These guys are awesome to tame up, and they're just super strong. They're just going to be your major workhorses for really anything that you need them to do. Now, in order to tame them up, they are a rather easy tame to get. All you need to do is simply build a trap. The one very similar to the YUTYRANNUS trap will definitely do the job, and they're just a simple knockout tame. Once you've knocked them out, all you need to do is feed it mutton or prime meat, and you are good to go. Now, once your Rex is tamed up, it doesn't really have a lot of abilities, which is kind of sad, but also kind of a good thing, I suppose, as it does keep it very basic. All they have is a roar and a bite attack. The roar is purely cosmetic. I don't believe it does anything. It did used to fear smaller creatures, but that does not work as far as I'm aware now. And then they have their basic bite ability, which, you know, you're going to just be dealing damage with this. That's entirely what this ability is for. You can see here, we're in for 253 straight off the bat of a wild tamed up Rex. I don't even know what its stats are. Let's take a quick look. 355 melee damage. Actually pretty solid melee damage, to be honest. These guys are great. You breed them up, you mutate them, you get some imprinting on them, and they'll be able to deal with majority of the bosses on Arc, as well as the world bosses found on Fjorda. So I'd heavily recommend getting yourself some Rexes if you have the ability to, as these guys are going to be your major workhorses. But let's move on to number 3. Now, coming in at number 3, we have the CARCHARDONTASAURUS. These guys are found where Gigas spawn, and they do potentially spawn in over the Gigas sometimes. It's completely random, however, so do keep that in mind. And these guys are significantly stronger, in my opinion, than Giga. Now, taming a Karcha is a relatively simple, also difficult process to tackle. In order to do so, I found trapping it to be the more easier way to do so. However, you don't necessarily need to trap it. Simply present the Karcha with a corpse. It can either be your tamed dinos or a wild corpse. Obviously, tamed dinos are going to be much easier to get for yourself, especially if you're breeding them. Simply approach the Karcha with the corpse, and the Karcha will feed. Once it's fed on the corpse, a little bar will appear above it. Once that bar becomes full, you can then ride it and go around eating wild dinos or your own tamed dinosaurs in order to tame up the Karcha. Once you've tamed it up, this guy is an absolute monstrosity. He does an absurd amount of damage on par with the Giga, and he's also able to receive multiple buffs from killing more and more dinos. For every dino that he kills, he will deal more damage in the long run of things. You can see he hits for about 380. However, once we start getting our first kill, we will get a speed boost as well as a damage boost as well. That will follow up as long as we maintain it in the bottom left-hand corner. You can see here this wild 150 came out with just under 18k. Once you've successfully imprinted on a Karcha, however the hell you want to pronounce it, it will become about 31,000 HP depending on the stats of the parents. Now, as well as that, they also have a tail flick attack, which is able to fling dinos a distance away from themselves. You can see there we are able to knock parasaurs and other dinos away from us. You can also use the C button to do a roar, which will actually provide you a movement speed buff and immunity to stuns. Now, the duration of this roar will depend on how many stacks you have. The more stacks you have, the longer the duration. But the Karchar is definitely one of the best dinos that you can get in Arc for 2023. Let's move on to the top 2 dinos. Now, coming in at number 2, we have the MAEWING. Now, the MAEWING is obviously one of the best dinos in Arc in my opinion. It's a super simple, easy tame to get. It's got a ton of abilities. It's great at getting around. It can harvest meat, berries, anything you want. It also produces eggs of various tiers, so you can make unlimited kibble with their eggs. They are able to breed with themselves regardless of their genders, and they're also able to carry around and act as a portable feeding trough for babies, and they can steal enemy players' babies as well. These guys can do everything, and they are one of the best dinos in Arc in my opinion. Now, in order to tame them, they are very, very, very easy to get. All you need to do is have some wooden build boards. All you need to do is chuck it, wait for it to get stuck just like this. Super easy. I would go ahead and probably put down 4 of these build boards just to be on the safe side of things, because these guys do jump when they get attacked. All you need to do then is go ahead and try and knock it out. Now, these guys have also super low torpor, so a couple of headshots and you'll find your MAEWING getting knocked out ASAP. Even with a crossbow or a slingshot, you can see just like that how quickly these guys they fall asleep. They're just super easy to tame. Once you've done that, all you need to do then is feed it prime meat, mutton, berries, whatever you have on hand. Now, once tamed up, they have the ability to glide. They can skim across the ground. They can skim across the water. They're great swimmers. They can harvest underwater. They can harvest fish and fish meat. They can jump out of the water. The list of these guys goes on and on. They're able to plow through terrain. Once they start gliding on the terrain, you can see here trees and rocks just become non-existent in the path of MAEWINGs. They're able to harvest berries, they're able to harvest meat, they're able to harvest everything. As well as that, they also can act as a parachute if you need to. They are capable of taking fall damage, however, so do be careful of that. But you can see there we are able to act as a parachute, slowing our descent down onto the ground. These guys are great. They also deal a decent amount of damage for what they are as well. You can definitely level these guys up in melee damage if you're using them as berry gatherers or anything like that. And they are able to deal a decent amount of damage with their belly flop attack, which is found on the secondary attack, which is how you will be harvesting up berries. But you can see here, these guys are just amazing for everything that you need to do on Arcs. Getting around, traveling, raising dinos, getting kibble. The list goes on. These guys are amazing, and I'd heavily recommend getting yourselves some MAEWINGs ASAP. But without further ado, let's get on to the number 1 spot. Now, coming in at number 1, we have the elusive SHADOWMANE. Now, these guys are found on Genesis Part 2 as well as Fiora, and in my opinion, these guys are the best dino that you can get on Arc. However, in order to tame these guys, what you need to do is you need to have access to a fish basket. Now, with this fish basket, you then need to go ahead and catch some fish. It can be mega piranhas, it can be saber-toothed salmons, it can be whatever kind of fish you want it to be. Now, you can reset the spoiler timers on these by releasing them back in the water. However, do have extra fish traps ready in order to do so. Saber-toothed salmons are also the best way to tame up the SHADOWMANEs, so you want to make sure that you have a bunch of saber-toothed salmons. Now, once you've got your fish basket and your SHADOWMANE in sight, all you need to do is then approach it. Now, I would recommend approaching it from its butt end over here where its tail is. All you need to do is simply approach the SHADOWMANE, hit E on it to feed it the fish basket, wait for it to go invisible, and then you can simply run away out of the area and let it do its thing. Now, once you've tamed yourself up a SHADOWMANE, there are 2 variants, the male and the female. The female does have a smaller crest and slightly different abilities in comparison to the male. However, you can see here these 2 are males, and you can see here is a female with the smaller mane. Now, the SHADOWMANEs receive a pack buff as well as one of them being designated the alpha, and you can tell that by the glow found on the SHADOWMANEs here. You can see here once we get on, it is the pack leader, and these guys do deal extra damage in a pack. As well as that, they also gain access to their abilities, to one of their extra abilities, while there is a female present, so I would recommend bringing the female with you. Now, the SHADOWMANE has the ability to do a roar, which will enable you to deal more damage as well as recover more stamina and be quicker as well. You can see there we just hit 350 damage. These guys also are not imprinted, and they come with an automatic armor of 80 because they are 150. Now these also scale depending on the level of the SHADOWMANE. Lower levels will result in lower armor, but a 150 will give you 80 armor SHADOWMANE, which is absolutely awesome. You will take minimal damage while riding around on your SHADOWMANE like this, and you can see the amount of damage that we are dealing. Once you've charged up enough attacks, you can see that bar is now filled up. You can hold down your primary key and this will cause you to deal a charged primary attack, which does a larger amount of damage as well. These guys are awesome for that. They also have a Thorn Mail effect where if you get attacked, the target is poisoned and will deal less damage to you, and they will take more damage from you as well. Now, as well as that, they also have a teleporting strike attack, which you can use when there are wild dinos in the vicinity, causing you to teleport strike them and any of the dinos in the area. This also disables flyers for a few seconds and slows down other dinos as well. You can see how slow that Pteranodon is going. Now, they also have the ability to cloak. There are a lot of abilities for the SHADOWMANE, and this makes them just, in my opinion, one of the best dino, the best dino you can get in Ark. So like I said, you can cloak as well, and you can see that will hide you from wild dinos. So you can definitely do that. It's just a great ability to have. And then their final ability, they're able to jump super duper high in the air, making them getting around, traveling super good and super. Look at that distance we just covered with a single leap. Absolutely crazy. Their run speed is also super good, and their swim speed is even better, meaning you can take them into the ocean and deal with whatever dangers lurk deep beneath the sea as well. The SHADOWMANEs, in my opinion, are the best creature that you can get in Ark, full stop. So I'd heavily recommend getting yourselves some SHADOWMANEs, breeding them, mutating them as quick as possible. Some honorable mentions that didn't make the list: the Desmodus, the Cjthecheesedj, as well as the Reaper. I feel like the dinos that were on this list filled those niches better than the dinos that got the honorable mention. Desmoduses can fly in caves, however, majority of the time, a lot of people aren't playing official anymore, and Cave Flyers is already enabled on custom servers, enabling you to take Pteranodons and Argies through the caves, as well as other creatures. You can also use Maewings and whatnot to get through the caves with their glide abilities, kind of rendering the Desmodus, in my opinion, redundant in that regard. Nonetheless, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what your picks would be. But other than that, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one.